In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to build this super useful Christmas gift planner in Notion. It's designed to ensure that you don't forget anyone, and it aims to avoid overspending by allowing you to set budgets and track spending for each person. Say hello to a stress-free and organized holiday season. Let's start, as always, by giving you a tour of the template, and then I'll be showing you step by step how to build it for yourself. So here is the Christmas gift planner template. So it's actually made up of two different databases. We have this database here, which has an overview for each person that you want to buy gifts for Christmas, and it will show you on this card the budget that you've set for that person, and it will then show you how much you've currently spent for that person. And there's a little alert here that will tell you if you're on budget, or if you've spent more than the budget, then it will tell you that you've overspent. And the second part of the gift planner is this second database down here, which is where you can actually list all of the items that you want to buy for each individual person. So you'll input the name of the gift here, the price, you can add a URL if it's something you're purchasing online, and you can then select which person you're actually purchasing that gift for. This then feeds back into this card that you'll see here, so it will add up the price here to show how much you've currently spent for each person. And we've also got a couple of checkboxes here so you can track whether you've bought the item and if it's been delivered. I've also created a tab where it filters by person the gifts that you've bought, so you can see, for example, let's see here for your mum, you might see that you've bought 2 items, so it's a nice easy way to see what you've bought for each individual person. So as I said, this gift planner aims to avoid overspending by letting you set budgets, and it will tell you if you spent too much, and it makes it really easy using this table here to see all of the items. You can easily purchase them, and you can track if they've actually been purchased and delivered to you. Okay, now that I've showed you the template, let's jump to the tutorial where I'll show you step by step how to build this for yourself. If you are finding this video helpful, then make sure to hit that subscribe button, as you won't want to miss any upcoming videos. Let's begin by adding a new database. So I'm going to type in /database and select database inline, and this one is going to be the list of all of the family and friends that we want to buy gifts for. So let's just call this family and friends, and I'm actually going to click on these 3 dots here and click hide database title, just because it looks a little bit cleaner without the title. Next, we're also just going to delete this default tags property as well, because it's not something we need. So the next thing you need to do is input the names of all of the people that you want to buy gifts for. So just add each name as a new row to this table. So I'll just add in a few as an example. So it might be mum, dad, and don't forget to add any friends on here as well that you also want to buy gifts for. Okay, so as you can see, I've added in a few different people that I want to buy gifts for. You can of course replace this with their actual name if you prefer. Next, to make this look a little bit nicer, we're going to add an icon next to everyone's name. So it's up to you if you want to pick an icon specific for that person, so maybe something that they're interested in or they like, or you can just use a default one for everybody, which is what I'm going to do. So to add a default icon, we're actually just going to click on this down arrow here and create a new template. We're then just going to click on add icon, and I'm just going to select an icon. So I'm actually just going to use this human outline here, and that's just going to display for everyone. But as I said, feel free to pick something from the emoji library that is reflective of the individual person. But to save time, it can be easier just to have a default icon like this for everyone. So once you've chosen the icon, we're going to hit back, and again, clicking on this down arrow, here is our untitled template with the icon. So we're going to click on the 3 dots and set it as default, and I'm going to select for all views. So essentially what that does is anytime I add a new row to the database, it's going to automatically add that icon to the row. So as an example, let's add a new row. Let's just add grandma, and as I hit enter, as you can see, that icon has automatically been added. So now anytime I add a new person, it's going to get this icon. Now because we'd already added these ones before we've set the icon as default, it's not going to add it for these ones. So I can just open up each page and just select the template for the ones that we've already added. So I'll just do that quickly. So just before we jump back into the tutorial, I just want to mention that my new Second Brain template is now available on my store. It's a super advanced all-in-one productivity system. I'll leave a link in the description box below if you're interested. So that's all, back to the tutorial. Okay, so now that we've done that, we're going to add another property to the table. So I'm going to click on the plus symbol here, and this is going to be a number property. So I'm going to select number, and this one is going to be the budget for each person. So let's name it budget, and then we're going to click on number format, and this is where we're going to actually select our currency. So this will depend on the country that you live in. So as I'm from England, I'm going to select pound, but you can select obviously the currency that applies to you. There are quite a lot of currencies in here, so I'm going to go with pound. So in this column, we're going to input the budget that we're going to set for each person. So it's essentially how much money do you want to spend on gifts for each individual person. So I'm just going to fill that in quickly. Okay, so I've just filled in the budget for each person. I'll just make this a little bit smaller. And I do also want to see the total amount that I'm going to spend on Christmas gifts this year. So if you just hover over the column right at the bottom, you'll see this calculate button appear. So if I click on there and I select sum, it's then going to sum together all of the numbers in this column to give me a total. So it's now telling telling me in total this is how much you're spending on Christmas gifts. So you can just use this to keep track of how much you want to spend. Okay, so that's all we're going to do on this database for now. So let's now add another database, which is where we're going to add in all of the actual individual Christmas gifts that we're buying for people. So I'm going to type in /database and select database in line. And this one we're going to call our Christmas gift planner. And again, I'm going to click on the 3 dots and hide the database title. And we're also going to delete the default tags property as well. Okay, so similar to what we did in this one where we added this default icon, we're going to do the same in this table. So anytime I add a new gift, I want there to be a gift emoji next to it. So we're going to hover on this button here and click on the down arrow and select new template. And I'm simply just going to add an icon and it's going to be the gift emoji. So that's this one here. You can select any emoji that you like. If you'd prefer a more monochrome look, you can select from their icon library and pick something like this. You can also change the color as well. But for this example, we are going to stick with the gift emoji. And hit back. I'm going to again click on the down arrow and next to the new template that we've just created, click on the 3 dots and we're going to set it as default, and that's for all views in the Christmas planner. So essentially, let's just delete this row here. I'm going to add a new row to the table. Let's say that I'm purchasing AirPods, and when I hit enter, it's going to automatically add the gift icon next to it. So that's really cool. Okay, now the next thing we're going to add is a price property so we can see how much each item is going to cost. So we're going to add a new property here and it's going to be a number property. So I'll select number and I'm going to name it price. Now again, we need to set the number format, so I'm going to click on here and again select my currency, so I'm going with pound and just close that off. So we can now input the price for this item here. So currently AirPods are about £129, so that's what I'm going to enter, and just make that a bit smaller. Now these days a lot of us do purchase gifts online, so it'd be really useful if I could save the URL for where I'm going to purchase this from. So let's add another property here and I'm just going to type in URL and select this URL property here, and I'm just going to leave the name here the same. So then what I can do is simply just click on here and paste in the link to the AirPods. So I've just grabbed the link from Amazon, paste it in here so that I can click on it when I actually want to purchase the AirPods. So this will automatically wrap the text like this. So it does create quite a messy view, especially when you have really long URLs. So I'm actually going to click on URL, and here where it says wrap column, I'm just going to switch that off. So it actually just shows just the start of the URL. It just looks a little bit neater. You can still click directly from here to be taken to the link. So it doesn't take away the functionality at all, and it looks a lot cleaner. Okay, so I'm just going to add a few more gift examples so that we have something to work with. Okay, so I've just added in these example gifts here, and I've also added the price and the URL. Okay, so next I want to be able to select who each gift is being purchased for. So it'd be great if I could pull through this database here and select that, for example, AirPods is being bought for my brother. So what we're going to do is create a relation property between these two databases. So I'm going to click on the plus symbol here and type in relation and select relation, and it's then going to ask me which database I want to link to. So in this case we want to link to our family and friends database, so I'm going to select that one. You want to ensure the limit is set to no limit, so this allows you to select multiple people for each item. So you may be buying joint gifts for certain people, so you can select 2 people for that. And we do also want to show this on our family and friends database as well, so I'll just toggle that on and I'm going to click add relation. So as you can see, a new column here has now appeared on our Christmas gift planner, and if I just scroll up to our family and friends database, a new column has appeared here as well. So that shows that the 2 databases have successfully been linked together. So on this one, I am just going to change the name of this from family and friends to person, as this is where we're going to select which person the gift is for. So let's have a look at AirPods as an example. So if I click on this box here, so what it's going to do is pull through all of the entries from our family and friends database so I can select from them. So in this case, let's say this is for my brother, so I'm just going to click on that one and that's going to populate this box. Now if I just go back up to the family and friends database, as you can see now next to brother, it's pulling up AirPods, so it's correctly pulling through the relation that I've just added, and I can just change the name of this as well from Christmas gift planner just to gifts. Okay, so next you just want to fill out the person for each gift. So for example, the fluffy slippers could be for my mum, so I'm going to select that one and so on. Okay, so I've just finished filling that out, and if I just scroll up here, as you can see, all of the gifts are now appearing next to the person that they've been purchased for, which is really cool. Another useful thing that I'm going to add to this database is 2 checkboxes, one to select that we've bought the item and one to select that it has been delivered, so you can easily keep track of what you've actually purchased and what you have in your possession. So let's click again on this plus symbol and type in checkbox and select this one. So the first one is going to be bought, so I'm just going to write bought and a question mark, and that's all. And I'll just make this a bit smaller, so you can simply just check this off when you've bought the items. Let's say that I've bought a few of them, I'll just tick a few off. And we're just going to add one more checkbox, so again type in checkbox, and this one is going to be delivered. question mark. And again, I'm just going to make that a little smaller. So this one is only really relevant if you've purchased the gift online, so you can just automatically check it if it's something you've bought in person. But if you've ordered this online, you may want to select bought when you've ordered it and then select delivered when it's been delivered. So it's just there to help you ensure that everything that you've ordered has actually been delivered and nothing's got lost along the way. So that is the table view. So this is a great place where you can come and just add in new items that you want to purchase. I would like to also create a board view that is going to group together the gifts based on the person that they're being bought for. So let's firstly duplicate this view. So if I just click on table and select duplicate, and we're actually going to change this instead of a table. If I click on layout, we're going to change it to a board view. And I'm just going to rename this tab gifts by person. So the first thing you want to ensure is that the gifts are being grouped by person. So as you can see at the top here, it says brother, dad. So they are correctly being grouped by the person. If they're not being grouped by person, then you just want to click on this group here and just click on group by and select person as the option. I do also just want to click on group here and hide any empty groups. So as you can see here, there is a column for items that are not being bought for a person, which is irrelevant. So I'm going to hide empty groups because I don't want to see that. I'm also going to color the columns as well, just because it looks a little bit better. And now we have all of our gifts grouped by person. I do also want to see the price for each item as well. So again, if I click on the three dots here and select properties, and if I look for the price in the list, so here is price, and just click on this little eye symbol, that's going to unhide it. So it's now been added to the card. So as you can see, that's now showing on this card. And I'm just going to pull that one to the front so it's the first thing that I see. So that is our Christmas gift planner database complete. So let's now head back to the family and friends database. So the first thing I'm going to do is hide this gifts column. So this is completely up to you. Feel free to keep this if you find it useful, but it is a repeat of what we have down here. So we have a better view of each person and all of the items that we've bought them. I feel like this is a lot easier to understand and read compared to this column. So because we've already got that information, I am going to hide this column by clicking on it and selecting hide in view. So the next thing I want to figure out is how much money I've currently spent for each person, so I can then compare the current spend to the budget here. So this is all going to be based on the items down here that I've selected for each person. So currently, for example, for my dad, I've purchased these two items, so I want to add these two together to see the current spend. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a roll-up property. So on our family and friends database, I'm going to click the plus symbol and select a roll-up property, and we're going to name this one current spend. So it's first going to ask me which relation I want to use. So if you click on here, it will bring up any relations that you have. So we only have one relation, it's to the gifts database down there. So I'm going to select gifts. And next it's going to ask me which property I want to grab from the gifts database. So if I click on here, it's going to bring up all of the properties that are in the gifts database. So the one I'm going to choose is the price, because I want to add together the prices of the items. And then it will ask me what I want to calculate. So currently it's just showing the prices. So if you look here under the current spend column, it's pulling through the prices for any of the gifts that I've tagged as, for example, mum, it's pulling through all of them. For dad, it's pulling through two different prices, but I don't want to see the actual price. I want them to be added together. So if I click on calculate, I can actually select sum, and it's going to add them all together like this, as you can see. I've just closed that off. I also just want to calculate the total amount that we've currently spent, just like we did for this budget column. So right at the bottom of the current spend column, I'm going to click on calculate and select sum, and that's then going to sum together all of the prices that we have listed here to show how much we've currently spent. So this is really handy to be able to see this was our total budget and this is how much we've currently spent. So it's just a handy way to keep you on track and ensure that you're not overspending. Okay, the next thing I want to add is the status property. So if you just go back to the example briefly, so this was the friends and family database on the example. So I have this status property here that will tell you if you're on budget, or if you've overspent your budget, it will tell you that you've overspent. So I want to add this in now. So that status that I just showed you is actually a formula. So on the friends and family database, we're going to add another property and it's going to be a formula. So I'm going to select this one and we're going to name this one status. And to actually write the formula, I'm going to click on this formula edit button, and that's going to bring up this box, which is where we're going to actually write the formula. Okay, so first we're going to add a basic version of the formula, and then I'm going to show you how we can change the colors and add symbols and things like that. So the formula itself is actually quite simple. It just uses an if function. So if you're familiar with Excel or you've used Notion formulas before, then you probably know about if statements. So it's essentially like saying if the current spend is less than budget, then we are currently on budget. However, if the current spend is more than the budget, budget, then we have overspent. So to put that into formula terms, we're going to type in if and open parentheses. And down here in this sidebar, you're going to see all of the properties in the table. So the one we're going to select to start is current spend. So if the current spend is less than, so I'm just using the less than symbol here, is less than our budget. So I'm going to select the budget property again from the list. So if the current spend is less than the budget, now we need to tell it what we want it to display if this statement here is true. So I'm going to write comma, and then I'm going to add 2 quotation marks like this, and inside these quotation marks is where you're going to write what you want to display. So I'm simply just going to put on budget. So I want it to display the words on budget if the current spend is less than the total budget. Then we're going to add 1 more comma, and then we need to tell it what we want it to display if this statement isn't true. So in that case, we want it to display the words overspend. So I'm going to add in 2 quotation marks and inside just the word overspend. Okay, and then I'm just going to add 1 more parentheses at the end to close this off and click done. So now that I've done that, as you can see in our status property, it is now bringing up either the word overspend or on budget. So if we look at the first one, it says overspend. So the budget was £150. We've currently spent 230, so it is correct. We have overspent. The next one says on budget. So the budget was 150. We've spent 66. So it's correct. We are on budget. So the status property is now working, but I do just want to make it a little bit more customized so it looks a little bit better. So I want the overspend to look more like an alert so it grabs your attention. So let's go back into the formula edit and have a look at our formula. So the first thing we're going to do is add in a couple of emojis. So I'm just going to open up my emoji editor briefly, and I'm just going to type in checkmark. And I like this green check mark here. So where it says on budget, just before the words on budget, we're just going to add in this emoji. So you can add emojis into formulas. So I'm just going to add the check mark. So it's at the check mark and then on budget. And for overspend, let's add a red exclamation mark like this one. So I'm just going to click on that and add that in like this. So if I click done now, as you can see, it's now added in that emoji, which does look a lot better. But I do also just want to make the text, for example, for overspend, I want it to be bold and I want it to be bright red. And for on budget, I'd love it to be bold and green. So let's add that in as well. So again, clicking on formula edit. So we'll start with the on budget one. So as I said, I want that to be green. So just after the quotation mark here, I'm just going to place my cursor and we're simply going to type the words dot style, and I'm going to open and close a parentheses, and then inside those parentheses I'm going to write quotation mark B quotation mark. That is going to bold the text, a comma, and quotation mark the words green and another quotation mark. So essentially what this is telling it is that I want the style of this word on budget to be bold. That's what the B indicates. And the word green indicates the color. So this just pulls through Notion's default colors. So if I click done now, as you can see, the on budget one is now bold and it is a green color. So let's just do the same thing, but for the overspend. So again, formula edit, and where it says overspend, just after the quotation mark here, we're going to type dot style, open and close parentheses, and inside we're going to do quotation mark B quotation mark to bold it, a comma, and quotation mark red quotation mark to make it red. So if I click done, now it is displaying the word overspend and it's bold and it's red. So it looks a lot better than it did before. I'm also just going to pull this status property to the front so it's the first thing that you see, and just make this a bit smaller as well. Okay, and then finally I just want to create that gallery view like we had in the example. So I'm going to take the table and I'm going to duplicate it, and this is going to be the overview. So I'm just going to name it overview, and I'll just change this icon as well to a circle, and I'm going to click on layout and we're going to change this to a gallery view like this, and I'm just going to click this back button here. So the first thing I want to do is show the status on the card. So if I click on properties, I'm going to unhide this status one. So now as you can see, under each person it's showing the status, and I also want to show the budget and the current spend. So one issue we have here is that it's not easy to tell which one is the budget, which one is the current spend. These just look like 2 random numbers. So we do want a label to show which one is the budget and which one is the current spend. So if we just go back to the table view, I'm going to add some labels. So I'm going to add another property, and this one is just going to be a text property, and this one can be our budget label. So I'm just going to name it that. Okay. And I'm just going to click on the first box and simply type the words budget and a colon like this. So this is what our label on the card is going to say. I'm also just going to highlight it and bold it. And just to make it stand out a little bit from the other text, I'm actually just going to change the color to gray. So it's only a slight difference, but it does just stand out a little bit next to the actual numbers here. And I want that to display on every single card. So I'm just going to drag this down and ensure it's displaying for every single person that we have in the table. And I'm going to do the exact same thing for current spend. So we're going to add one more property here. It's going to be a text property, and this one is going to be our current spend label. And in the column, we're just going to type the words current spend, colon, and again, I'm going to highlight that, bold it, and also change the color to gray. And we're also just going to drag that down and ensure that it displays in every single column. So these labels are going to display on the overview page on the cards, but for the purpose of this table view, they don't actually make sense to be here. So I'm just going to hide them so that we don't have to see them. So if I just click on the column and select hide in view, it will disappear, but it does still exist. It's just there in the background. If we now go back to our overview tab, and again, if we click on the three little dots here and properties, here we find our budget label and our current spend. So if I just unhide both of these, they'll now display on the card. And we just want to change the order of these. So you just want to make sure the budget label comes after the status. So it should say budget label and then underneath the actual budget. And then we want our current spend label and the actual current spend. So just make sure that the numbers are displaying underneath the appropriate label. And as you can see on the card, it now displays our status, our budget, and our current spend, which is really nice. So the final thing I'm going to add on here is completely optional. If you want to go a little bit extra, we can also add a photo of each person as the cover on here. So if you don't want to add a photo, I'll show you how to get rid of this white space. And if you do want to add a photo, then stick around and I'll show you how to do that. So let's click on the three dots here and select layout. And where it says card preview, currently it says page content. So if you don't want a photo at all, then select none and it will just remove that white space. You'll just see a card like this for each person. However, if you do want a photo, then under card preview, we're going to select page cover. So it would essentially pull through the cover photo for this page on here. So now we're actually just going to add the photos. So let's use dad as an example. So if I just click on here and we're going to hover up here and click add cover. So that's just going to add a random cover photo. So to change it, we're going to select change cover. You can then click on the upload tab here and just upload a picture of them that you have. So just as an example, I'm just going to use a stock image from Unsplash, but you can obviously just upload an actual picture of your family. So after you upload or select the image, it will then display on the card. If it's not showing the right part of the photo like this one, you can click on reposition and just pull it down so that it shows the right part of the image like this. Okay, so I'm just going to add a photo quickly for everyone on here. Okay, so as you can see, I've just added some random stock images as examples just to show you what it will look like once you've added all the photos. So this is the finished gift planner. I can just bring the overview to the front. So you have the overview tab, which shows you an overview of each person, the budget you've set, how much you've actually spent, and an alert if you are either on budget or overspent. You can use the table view to easily update the details. You can update the budget here or add new people to the table. And the second database, which is the actual Christmas gift planner, you can use the gifts by person tab to see an overview of all the gifts that you've purchased for each person. And you can use the table view to add new items to the list. And you can add the URLs, you can easily find them, and you can also track whether you've bought them and if they've been delivered. So it's a really handy system. And that's it. You can check out all of my pre-made Notion templates, including this advanced second brain template, over on my store. I'll leave a link in the description box below. And if you did find this video useful, then I'd really appreciate it if you could give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, as I post new Notion tutorials like this one twice a week.